Dasa Vrindavanam Vande Krishna Dasa Prabhum Tata Chanavatar Chaitanya Lila Vistar Kadino Dvo Nityananda Parabja Karunare Nabushito Vyakta Chano Burachincho Vavande Vyasarupino Shri Guru Gaur Gandharva Govindascha Ganaisaha Jayanti Patakaschacha Sarvesham Gurunartino. So we are continuing with our reading of Sri Chaitanya-charitamrita. We had a very hectic weekend. It was the disappearance day of our Guru Dev, Srila Govinda Maharaj, on Sunday, and we had some devotees visiting, especially some young devotees. And so we had our normal daily programs went in another direction. And we were all, there's that mixed feeling, right, of happiness and sadness on these days of disappearance, where we're, there's that happiness, the joy in the more intensified remembrance of our Guru Dev, but there is also the sadness of feeling his separation. So that mixed feeling. And now we are back to our normal morning schedule, Sri Chaitanya-charitamrita. We are still in the first chapter of the Madhya Lila, and Rupa and Sanatan, remember, they came in the dead of the night, secretly, incognito, to meet with Mahaprabhu. And they offered so many beautiful prayers, and now Mahaprabhu is about to respond. So picking up from verse 207. Shuni Mahaprabhu kohe shuno dabir kas, tumi dui bai mor puratan das. After hearing the prayer of Dabir Kas and Sakar Malik, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "My dear Dabir Kas, you two brothers are my old servants. Aji hoite duhar nam rup sanatan, doinya charatoma doinye fate moharman." My dear Sakar Malik, from this day your names will be changed to Shri Rup and Shri Sanatan. Now please abandon your humility, for my heart is breaking to see you so humble. So such extreme prayers of humility, even Mahaprabhu is feeling shy and awkward to hear. It's painful to hear such humility. And we would feel that sometimes with, not what feeling can we have, but it was the feeling of our devotees sometimes in our group, when Srila Govinda Maharaj would express very deep feeling of humility. It was very uncomfortable. It was very uncomfortable to hear that. Such a great soul deprecating himself in such a heavy and earnest way, not for show, but his genuine feeling. Gurudev, one interesting point that Gurudev made is, and we heard from Janardhan Maharaj that Gurudev actually would, he would hide that mood, actually, because he said, that feeling of humility, he didn't put it on display, right? It was like some inner feeling, and sometimes he might show it. Because he made this comment that, if I express how I really feel about myself, then that's dishonoring Guru Maharaj, right? Guru Maharaj gave me this seat, right? And then he saw qualification in me, and I have to honor that, And also he said for the public, then the general public, if they hear me expressing what I really think about myself, then they will have some doubt, they will have some question. And I have to keep the dignity of what Guru Maharaj wanted, expected, saw in me, and that role that I'm supposed to play, So he made that comment. We heard that he's keeping that within, But sometimes he would express that feeling. And something that he would say a lot, and I think of it often, many times I heard Srila Gurudev express that he said, I know what is my position. I know what is my position. Say. And that, for me, it's like something that pierces to my heart, in regards to my own, my own practice, the mood that I'm trying to cultivate, that obviously that does not apply to His divine grace, but in our case, it's important we keep on the ground, right? Remember who we are, where we came from, what our position is, and how we are utterly dependent on higher grace. And anything that we have in Krishna consciousness, it is a gift. It is a gracious gift from above, right? And as it has been extended to us, so it can be withdrawn. Srila Sridhar Maharaj speaks about that. He uses this expression, the Vaikuntha Sampad, the wealth of Vaikuntha Sampad. It is very flickering in nature. It is like subtle, right? It is something subtle. And if there's something too gross, then it will withdraw. It will be disturbed. Particularly the mood of self-establishment, self-assertion. It's very repelling to the flow of Krishna consciousness, the organic flow of Krishna consciousness. As soon as there's some mood of ownership, right, or colonization, then it will withdraw. It becomes shy, right? It will be repelled by that type of mood, Because if we keep ourselves in that posture, we are instruments, right? We are vessels, right? Then it will happily flow through us, But if we start to try to claim it, put our flag there, then it will withdraw from us, It is repelled by that. And I appreciated that very much about Shuddha Prabhu. That was something he used to mention often in his classes, that, whatever feelings, understanding that we have in Krishna consciousness, it's not our property, but it's the gift of our gurus. And sometimes there can be this arrogance, like we're children spouting big ideas, right? Like sometimes little children, they repeat things that they hear their parents say, but they don't really have real realization or experience, right? It's a little silly, And it's easy for us to become like that too, right? Talking so many big words and big ideas and big feelings, but it's not really ours, We haven't really caught up to that level yet, But our parents, we heard from our parents. So very carefully we're trying to convey their message, right? It's their feeling, right? It's their feeling, their realization, their property. And we are doing puja to that, right? Puja la ragapata gaurava bhange. In the posture of reverence, we are doing puja to that. What's in the hearts of our gurus, right? To worship and honor the wealth in the hearts of our gurus. Like, that's our religion. That's what we're doing. And everything that we are doing in Krishna consciousness, it is all through the lens of our guru's realization and the wealth of their heart. And if we can keep that mood, then we'll be in a safe position. We'll be in a stable position that will give us a real foundation to work with. Otherwise, just like it's air, it's all just air. But that connection with our gurus, that gives us some firm footing, right? Firm position. Okay. Dunya patri likimode patale bye bye. Se patri twara jani tomar vyavahar. You have written several letters showing your humility. I can understand your behavior from those letters. Tomar hridoyami jani patri dwade. Tomar shikaite shlok patailo tomade. By your letters, I could understand your heart. Therefore, in order to teach you, I sent you one verse which reads as follows. So one of the letters that they sent to Mahaprabhu, they're like suffering in these government jobs, right? And they're wanting to like get out and come see Mahaprabhu. And so they were sending some letters to Mahaprabhu expressing their heart. And they sent one asking for permission to give up their work and just stay with Mahaprabhu, permanently. And this was his answer, Mahaprabhu's answer. He's repeating it here also. And this is quite a well-known instruction. And it's very helpful for any practitioner who's living in the world, has to work a job, and has different duties in the world, but they're simultaneously trying to maintain their Krishna consciousness, right? It's very helpful. And Gurudev and Srila Sridhar Maharaj, both, they would sometimes give this as an answer to devotees who are asking, how can I continue my spiritual life while I'm working in the world, and like that. So this is the verse. Padavyasa nini nadi. It's a Sanskrit verse. Padavyasa nini, I believe. Padavyasa nini nadi vyagrapi griha karmasu tade vasvadayat yantar nava sangha rasayanam. If a woman is attached to a man other than her husband, she will appear very busy in carrying out her household duties. But within her heart, she is always relishing feelings of association with her paramour. So it's a very interesting example, unexpected example, right? If a lady has a secret lover, right, then she'll actually do all her household duties even more perfectly, right? So her husband doesn't suspect anything. But in her heart, she's always remembering her relationship with her lover, right? And so similarly, we may be out in the world, right? But in our heart, we are remembering what is our real aspiration, our real identity, our real cultivation. And actually, that external opposition can enhance, can intensify that inner cultivation, right? Like this is why people get excited by secret love affairs, because it's like the world can't know about it, so it actually makes it more exciting, right? It becomes stronger, right? So that antagonism that's coming from the external environment, it can actually enhance, right? Intensify that inner attachment, the attachment that we have to Guru Gauranga. So in other words, Mahaprabhu is saying, like, no, you can't give up your jobs. Keep doing what you're doing. You can't run away from home and become a Hare Krishna yet. Keep it in your heart. Keep it in your heart. And it's interesting because Mahaprabhu gives this same instruction, or similar, to Raghunath, right? There's Raghunath Das Goswami at another time. He also wants to give up his worldly duties. He's a son of a very wealthy family, and he wants to leave everything behind and stay with Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu tells him, don't be a madman, don't be so emotional, go home, carry out your duties, and gradually you'll cross over the ocean of material existence. And when it's the proper time, then Krishna will open the door for you, and you can begin your your full-fledged life in Krishna consciousness. So it's interesting, on these two occasions, at least these two, Mahaprabhu gives the same instruction. Like, it's an internal cultivation. Remember that. You don't need to give everything up on the surface, right? But keep that focus on the internal cultivation. That's what this is really about.
Right, it's not like an emotional decision.
Mm-hmm. And your external circumstances don't have to reflect, right, what this is.
That's really nice.
Mm-hmm. And when I visited China, it was something I thought about a lot, because in China, right, you can't show any public display, right? You could go to jail, right? You know, we don't even wear tilak and sari, devotional clothes. We won't wear that. Like, it all had to be totally internal. You know, it was a really interesting experience and reflection for me. Like, it's all within, you know. And what is the nature of Krishna consciousness? Srila Maharaj always repeats this line, ahaituki apratihata, that it has no mundane cause, it is causeless, has no mundane origin, no mundane cause, and apratihata, it is unstoppable, it is irresistible. In other words, nothing in the material environment has any effect on it. Right? It's something coming from a higher plane, it's subtle, it's internal, and the external environment has no bearing upon it at all. And it doesn't matter what your circumstances are. But that inner flow of bhakti, of devotion, it will persist, right? Despite anything and everything. And Srila Maharaj also gives the example of Prahlad Maharaj, right? That, you know, he's in the worst situation conceivable, being tortured by his own dad, for goodness sake. Like, does it get worse than that? Talk about, parent issues. But he doesn't have any parent issues. He's always absorbed in the remembrance of the Lord, and his connection with divinity is persisting in all circumstances. And his optimism also, his joy, his optimism, his faith, even in the worst situation. That devotional connection, cultivation, overriding everything. So we don't have to make because one problem is that, like, if we jump too quickly to the external side, then we identify that as an external thing, right? Like a showcase type of thing, right? But we want to have a strong, deep internal cultivation. The external is supporting, right? Like the dress that we wear and the lifestyle, it is all, these things are all supporting, right? But the real thing is within, and we have to remember that. So, of course, if we can have both, that is the best. Both the form and the substance, that is the best, right? But it has to be real, that's the thing. And so it may not be the best for everyone to jump immediately, right, to the form fully. And every case is different, of course. In my case, Gurudev, he changed his instruction. In the beginning, he told me, like, finish your education, go to school. And then 6 months later, he said, oh, can you stay here in India forever? Like, okay, Gurudev. So it's all, right, depends on the individual. And Gurudev that was one thing about Gurudev that always impressed me. Or nowadays, actually. Like, actually, when I was living in India, I had one level of appreciation for Gurudev, but now, like in the following years, as time goes by, I think back and so many things that didn't occur to me in the time, like now they're coming to me. Like thinking, appreciating how Gurudev did different things. And one of those things, like, and this was years after Gurudev left the world, it occurred to me, like how perfectly he dealt with me at every step. He was very intelligent and very customized. You know, like he would give different instructions at different times. You know, very personal. It was just brilliant, you know, the way that he handled. Like, he didn't have this like gung-ho mood, like everybody, you know, come join the temple and you're all in Maya, just come and join the temple. And he was very intelligent, you know, in the way that he did things. Like what I asked Gurudev, you know, in the beginning, oh Gurudev, can I stay here in India? And he could see I wasn't actually ready for it. And he said, oh, you stay and, you know, you continue your education and you're in the middle of a degree. And then 6 months later, I saw him again. And then he asked me, oh, can you stay here? Because he could see, oh, now she's actually ready, you know. And it was better also because it was coming from him. It wasn't coming from my idea, but it was his idea. Right? And then I was coming to India and everyone thought, oh, she's going to stay and help Mahananda in the office, right? And everyone was expecting that. And then Gurudev said, no, stay here in Calcutta with me, he said. So then 2 years later, he sent me to Navadvip, you know, like broke my heart and sent me away to Navadvip. But then at that stage, it was like the bird getting, like first I got to be in the nest with my parents, with the dad, taking care of me, getting nourishment. And then it was time to be pushed out of the nest. You know? And then it was heartbreaking, but then I became stronger because of that. Then you have to fly, right? And your wings get stronger. And now when I think back, it was so brilliant the way he handled me, you know. Like Gurudev, he didn't want anything from anyone. He didn't need anything from anyone. You know? But he wanted our individual growth in Krishna consciousness. Right? And there were other cases too. I saw, like, you know, young devotees would ask Gurudev, oh Gurudev, I want to give up my education and stay in the temple. And he'd say, no, you continue with what you're doing now. Later we can see. You know? It was like very personal. You know, he didn't just want to fill up his temples or fill up bank accounts. It wasn't like that. But what's good for you? You know, like Sudarshan, I often remember he told Gurudev once, Gurudev, I have $200,000 I want to give you. And Gurudev told him, not necessary, Prabhu. He was shocked. He was completely shocked. And then Sudarshan thought, and then he's like very surprised. And he said, well, Gurudev, I had this one idea to make a retirement home for devotees. And Gurudev said, it is a very good idea, but cut your coat according to your cloth. It was an expression Gurudev would use sometimes, like consider what you're actually capable of. You know? Like Gurudev was very sober and very, smart about how he did things, and for whatever reason he said the donation wasn't necessary. Like he was looking at Sudarshan as a soul within eternity. Like what was in, what he wanted to adjust something. And it's not like Gurudev would always refuse donations. Obviously not. Our temples were running on donations. But in that particular instance, he's thinking, oh, I need to make some adjustment in his consciousness. So he's saying, no, I don't need it, actually. That's a lot of money. You could do a lot of things with $200,000. But he's making a point. It's not about money. I was mentioning the other day that example. Vaidehi, she like was trying to give a donation. Gurudev said, "You're a student. You need your money." He wasn't just eager to take everyone's money. You're a student. You need that money. And sometimes I saw too, he would get upset. Like if I mentioned to you also that if devotees were doing like public collection, like sometimes there's some project we need money to renovate, this bathroom or this roof, or in some of the Western devotees were doing a collection for some service in the mat. And Gurudev got angry about it. And he said, these devotees are already giving me so much money. You're asking them for more. He wasn't just about building up his pile, but he really wanted to take care of everyone. It's so incredible. Someone of such integrity, right? And personal, genuine care, He didn't want anything from us. He only wanted our growth in Krishna consciousness. That was what he wanted. And sometimes he would give money, like recently I heard of a few, I won't mention names because it's very personal, but I heard of, just this last time it was in America, I heard of 2 different occasions. It was a case of like an older, or not older is the wrong word, but a devotee who was a father who was giving a lot of energy serving Gurudev's mission, and because of that was neglecting their family, their wife and children. And Gurudev gave, and these are 2 separate occasions, he gave the wife of that devotee like a good chunk of money, like a law, like one person it was like $10,000, another person maybe $1,000 or something like that. It's incredible because he's saying, like your husband is giving his whole life to try to serve me, not taking care of his family properly. The poor wife and children are suffering, So he gave like real money, It's incredible. It's incredible. Where will you find that? Where will you find that? Well, I guess we're continuing the theme of Gurudev. It's his disappearance day. I'll read a little more. Gunanikata site nahi mor prayojam, tomaduha dekite mor ihawagamam. I really had no business in coming to Bengal, but I've come just to see you 2 brothers. E mor maner kata keho nahi jane, sobe bole kene aila ram keli grame. Everyone is asking why I have come to this village of Ram Kelly. No one knows my intentions. Balo hoilo dui bai aila mor stane, kore jaha boy kuchu na kori homane. It is very good that you 2 brothers have come to see me. Now you can go home. Do not fear anything. Janme janme tumi dui kingar amar, achirate Krishna tomai koribe udar. Birth after birth, you have been my eternal servants. I am sure that Krishna will deliver you very soon. Etaboli duha shire, dorilo dui hate, dui bai Prabhupada, nilani jamate. The Lord then placed his 2 hands on the heads of both of them, and in return they immediately placed the lotus feet of the Lord on their heads. Dohalengiya Prabhu bolilo bhakta gane, sabe kripa kori udaraha dui jane. After this, the Lord embraced both of them and requested all of the devotees present to be merciful upon them and deliver them. Dui jane Prabhur kripa deki bhakta gane, Hari Hari bole sobe anandita mane. When all of the devotees saw the mercy of the Lord upon the two brothers, they were very much gladdened, and they began to chant the holy name of the Lord. Hari Hari. Nityananda Haridas, Shivas Gadadhar, Mukunda Jagadananda Murari Vakreshwar. All the Vaishnava associates of the Lord were present, including Nityananda Prabhu, Haridas Thakur, Shivas Thakur, Gadadhar Pandit, Mukunda, Jagadananda Pandit, Murari, and Vakreshwar. Sabar charane dori pare dui bai, sobe bole danya tumi paile gosai. In accordance with the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the two brothers, Rup and Sanatan, immediately touched the lotus feet of these Vaishnavas, who all became very happy and congratulated the two brothers for having received the mercy of the Lord. Sabapashag agyamagi chalan samhoy, Prabhu pade kohe kichu koriya binoy. After begging the permission of all the Vaishnavas present, the two brothers at the time of their departure humbly submitted something at the lotus feet of the Lord. Iha hoite cholo Prabhu, iha nahi kai, yajjapi tamare bhakti kore go naraj. Oh, this is Kaj here. It's difficult because in Bengali there are two Y's, and one of them Bengali is pronounced with a J sound. And in other parts of India they'll pronounce it as a Y. Like for example, Acharya. That letter is actually pronounced with a J sound by Bengalis, Acharya. And so it's difficult when you're reading the transliteration because you don't. So the first, I was thinking, it doesn't rhyme because the first line it's Kai if you read it literally, the transliteration, and then the second line ends with Raj. Raj is king, right? So I'm like, hang on, that doesn't. No, it's actually a Y that is pronounced as a K. Kaj means a job. But it's a transliterated as a Y. And this, so this is Samoy. Samoy means time. This the previous verse. Sorry, I'm getting into the Bengali. I really like Bengali. If you look in the previous verse, this Samoy and Vinoy, you see that? The last words. That Y is pronounced as a Y. And those letters, they have a dot under. But then this next verse, that Kai, the letter's different. You see, there's no dot under that symbol. And that's pronounced as a J, Kaj. But it's transliterated the same. And I'll read this verse again, pronounce it right. So it rhymes. Iha hoite cholo Prabhu, iha nahi kaj, Jajapi tamare bhakti kore gaura raj. They said, Dear Lord, although the king of Bengal, Nawab Hussain Shah, is very respectful towards you, you have no other business here. Kindly depart from this place. Tatapi, so you have no kaj, you have no job. They use that word a lot, still colloquially, kaj. You have no, what is your job? You have no job here, no business here. Although the king is respectful toward you, he still belongs to the Javana class and should not be believed. We think that there is no need for such a great crowd to accompany you on your pilgrimage to Vrindavan. Jar sange chole lok laka koti, Vrindavan jachaye nahe paripati. Dear Lord, you are going to Vrindavan with hundreds and thousands of people following you. And this is not a fitting way to go on pilgrimage. Jajjapi vastutta prabhur kichu nahi boy, tatapi loki klila lok cheshtamoy. Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Sri Krishna himself, the Supreme Lord, and was therefore not at all fearful, he still acted like a human being to teach neophytes how to act. Etaboli chanan vandi gela dui jan, prabhur se gram hoite cholite hoi loman. Having spoken thus, the two brothers offered prayers to the lotus feet of the Lord and returned to their homes. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then desired to leave that village. Let's see, maybe it's a good place to stop. Let's see, we're almost at the end of this chapter. Yeah, I think we can stop there. So now, remember this, okay? This is going to come up again later. So Sanatan gave this advice to Mahaprabhu that, we think it's better you don't go to Vrindavan right now. One, because you're, mostly they're concerned about the Muslim ruler, right? That if he sees this great Hindu Messiah who has all this influence, has hundreds, thousands of people following him, he'll feel threatened, right? And then also indicated is this idea that, if you're going on pilgrimage somewhere, then you want to go in a quiet way, in a humble way, not like a big show, And so Mahaprabhu's quiet. He doesn't say anything, right? But yeah, so Mahaprabhu doesn't say anything. And then he leaves, but then he actually follows Sanatan's advice. And then later on, he says too, that, and this reminds me also of Gurudev, like how it's the nature of advanced consciousness, like they're observing and hearing everything, right? And in the moment they may not necessarily like respond, or you may not know like how much they're noticing, but they're noticing everything, Like I think sometimes Suvasini Didi, she told me that, she first met Gurudev in something like 93 or 94 in London. And then she met Gurudev so many times over the years, right? And then she met Gurudev again, and then she met Gurudev for the last time, maybe it was like 2008 sometime. It was the last time she met with Gurudev. Or was it 2009? I can't remember. But she had that first meeting, then she had so many other meetings. And then her very last meeting with Gurudev made a reference to the first meeting that they'd had. It was something about the Indian culture or something. I cannot remember exactly. But it was like a very personal reference to something that they discussed in their first meeting, which had been like 10, 15 years before. And she was shocked. And she said, "Oh, Gurudev, you remember that?" And Gurudev said, "I remember everything." That's what he said. And that was their last meeting. Like how profound, how profound. And she also mentioned another thing that when she was visiting, one time she'd made some friendship with another lady devotee in Navadvip, and like, in her next visit, like a year later, or maybe it was even later than that, Gurudev made a reference, "Oh, so-and-so is your friend." And she was surprised, like, you noticed, like. So Mahaprabhu, So he doesn't say anything, right? Sanatan gives this advice, right? And then he decides to follow the advice. And then sometime later, he mentions, there's this beautiful line, Srila Sridhar Maharaj quotes it sometimes. Sanatan muke Krishna more shikaila. Means that Krishna instructed me through the mouth of Sanatan. Krishna instructed me through the mouth of Sanatan. And so Srila Sridhar Maharaj draws out this point, right? How the Lord, that we have to be alert to see how instruction is coming to us, right? The instruction of the Lord may come from different directions, through different sources. Someone may act as an instrument of divine instruction. And so we have to be awake and alert, have our ears open to catch where it's coming, to recognize, right, where it is coming. Where one whose inner eye is awakened will see traces of divinity everywhere. That is a quote of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. He says, so if we are awake, we will be able to recognize, even in something that apparently is very ordinary, right? Oh, like this is actually coming from some higher place. A child may come from the mouth of a child, right? As an instrument. And another thing I wanted to mention too, just in line with this theme of how the great souls, they're so personal and remembering everything. There's another incident too at the same time, that when Mahaprabhu was leaving Puri to go to Vrindavan, Gadadhar Pandit wanted to go with Mahaprabhu, but Mahaprabhu wouldn't allow him to come. And why that is, that's another topic, But Mahaprabhu wouldn't allow him to come. And Gadadhar was heartbroken about this. And he tried to follow Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu kept telling him to go back. And then there was a certain point, like along the way, Gadadhar kept trying to follow. And Mahaprabhu finally tells him, like for the final time, like clearly you have to go back to Puri. And Gadadhar just faints. Like it's so painful for him. And Mahaprabhu goes on his way. And there's some appearance of cruelty, right? That he could treat his devotee like that, And then like so much time, like how many weeks go by, And in the end, Mahaprabhu he didn't go to Vrindavan, right? That first time he couldn't go, and he turned back. And then when he arrived back to Puri, he mentioned to the devotees, oh, I could not go because Gadadhar would not allow me to go. He mentioned like that, like that, because Gadadhar was so heartbroken that I was leaving, something like that. Like he was feeling that in his heart very deeply. Like apparently showing some neglect, but actually feeling very deeply in his heart. And he's remembering, Gadadhar did not want me to go, and I could not go. Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev-Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Sridhar Dev-Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya-charitamrita ki Jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki Jai. Gaur Premanande.